Did you think that Donald Trump finally landed on a position that undocumented immigrants would not be able to stay in this country and eventually pursue legal status? Did you think that? Well, think again.
We're going to make that decision into the future. Okay? Good question. I'm glad you asked. That decision will be made.
9 weeks until Election Day, and Donald Trump is still sending some rather mixed messages on this. Joining me now is former Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson, who's an advisor to Donald Trump. Dr. Carson, thanks as always for being here.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
So I'd love to get some clarity here on an issue that continues to confuse people. During his immigration speech last week, Donald Trump said there would be no path to legalization without people going back to their home countries and then re-entering the United States and getting in line with everyone else. But during an interview with the press on his campaign plane yesterday, he said he wasn't ruling anything out in terms of the people who are in this country illegally and that he would decide in the future. Does Donald Trump have a firm immigration policy as to what happens to the 11 or so million undocumented immigrants in this country right now? And can you explain to me what it is?
Well, he wants to prioritize things. It's sort of like if you had a laceration to your leg and the artery distally was cut and you'd be bleeding profusely. You could spend all your time trying to sop up the blood, or you could put a tourniquet on upstream. And what we need to do is stop the flow of illegal people coming in here. So we want to secure the border first and foremost. And then we want to apply the laws. The laws have really not been applied. So we don't really know what it looks like with Democrats or Republicans.
Right,
Nobody's applied it because they've all tried to...
This is what everybody
No, they've tried to use this issue as a political football.
I understand that, but what you're saying right now, seal the border, deal with the...
Well, I haven't finished. I haven't finished.
Deal with the criminal aliens, and then lastly, we'll deal with all those. That's what everybody says. That's what Democrats say. That's
I haven't finished yet,
All right,
Jake.
go ahead, sorry.
I have not finished yet. Okay. So I said those are the priorities. Those are the first things that you do. And then you want to look and see what is left over afterwards. And there'll be time to consider in a compassionate and fair way what to do with individuals who don't necessarily want to become American citizens. If they want to become American citizens, they want to vote, they'll have to go through the very same things that everybody else does. But if they don't, there is a possibility of a guest worker program or some other things. These are things that can be looked at in a calm and rational manner after we've stemmed the tide.
I understand that, sir, but as I was saying when I rudely interrupted you, that is the same position that you had during the primaries, that Jeb Bush had during the primaries, that Marco Rubio had during the primaries. And as you know better than most, one of the ways that Donald Trump won was by saying he was going to be tougher than all you guys, that he was going to remove all 11 million undocumented immigrants from this country with a deportation force. Now that seems to be completely evaporating into the ether.
Well, you know, it's relatively irrelevant at this point because it is what it is. He is the nominee and has to come up with rational and workable plans, has to work with various advisors and experts in terms of the best way to do this, and it needs to be done in a fair and compassionate way that is consistent with the way we in America do things.
With all due respect, sir, I don't think promises made to voters are irrelevant.
Well, I didn't say that they were irrelevant, but bear in mind, what you talk about during a campaign and what actually happens, as you know, in all administrations are different. You get different information, you learn things along the way, and you make adjustments along the way. Perhaps there were others who had already learned those things. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that it does get learned and it does get integrated into the process of decision making.
All right. Well, I would disagree with you on the question about whether or not it matters, but I want to ask you about another important issue.
Well, there's no disagreement because I agree that it does matter.
Right, but it matters what somebody promises on their way to the nomination, and then if they completely change their position to what all their opponents had during the primaries, it tends to undermine the sincerity of just that promise.
Well, very much like the promises that have been made to people in our inner cities for decades, and yet their condition is not getting any better. Those matter too.
Agreed, and I'll get to that in 1 second. I want to ask you, Donald Trump continues to hammer Hillary Clinton for alleged corruption. He calls her Crooked Hillary. But I want to get your reaction to Donald Trump's charitable foundation donating $25,000 to Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi at the same time she was looking at fraud allegations against Trump University. She obviously did not pursue that, did not enter into the suit along with New York State. Critics say he was trying to influence her decision. Trump has bragged that he gives money to politicians and they do his bidding. Does this situation bother you at all?
Well, let me put it this way. I know them both. I know that they're friends, and I know that people tend to support their friends in their campaigns. Pam Bondi is a very meticulous lawyer and would be looking very carefully at anything that looked askew. So I say if people want to investigate it, they certainly should, but it would not be consistent with what I know.
The contribution, of course, was illegal, the contribution that Donald Trump made, and he had to pay a fine, a $2,500 fine.
And if that was illegal, he should have paid a fine. There's no question about it. I don't have any problem with that.
You don't think it undermines his charges against Hillary Clinton that she's crooked when he's doing something that looks to be a textbook example of pay to play? You give this person money, they don't pursue a legal action against you and your university?
Well, you know, Donald Trump has admitted that he knows how the system works and that he has worked with both Democrats and Republicans and that money has been exchanged. You know, he has not tried to hide the fact that that has occurred. A lot of times the rules become more clear after you've done something. That certainly was the case, I think, with Dinesh D'Souza. But it happens. And that's the reason that we have laws and the reasons that we have rules, and people have to pay the consequences when they occur. One of the things that I learned during my run is that the depth of corruption on both sides is unimaginable. It's just unimaginable.